What is going on, everyone? Welcome to another Bucks on Deck podcast episode. I'm Anthony Murphy. With me, as always, Nola Jeffy. Nola, what's going on, man? How's it going?
Another day in paradise. Same shit, different day.
It sounded like you had quite the eventful day.
I feel like that's every week.
That's
every
fair.
weekend,
That's
every
fair.
day.
That's fair. I kind of just sit by my phone and wait for you for all the madness to end and be like, well, I'm finally free. And it's like, okay,
Yeah. So some weeks it's 8:15, some weeks it's 9. Real
Fake
time.
Fake time.
Yeah.
Fake
Yeah.
time. Okay.
Which bad for you because you're an hour behind or hour ahead. Yeah. So, but you don't sleep, so it's okay.
Yeah, no, I don't sleep. And it'll be fun tonight as I'm trying to upload this because Substack is doing a update on the dashboard that's going to make the writer dashboard completely unavailable for like an hour or two. So I don't actually expect to be able to upload this till like 1 o'clock. So this will be fun. But we got another fun episode here today. Going to go over. I mentioned briefly on the when I was on NS9 Monday morning that the site's going to be doing some updates as far as our top 25 rankings. We're going to be including like the players acquired at the deadline plus the draft. We wanted to talk a little bit about Bubba Chandler's AAA debut, and then how we mentioned it when we text. We're going to bitch about the Pirates a little bit, and they're at the moment as we're recording, they're playing game 1 against the Padres right now, so they're on a 7-game losing streak right now. We'll see if they're able to end that. Nola did add on not only just on the Pirates, but he had some bitching to do about the organization in general. So, I'm sure we're all looking forward to that. But I figured we'd get started with some of the good stuff, and that would be Bubba Chandler made his AAA debut. And, it went pretty good, I'd say.
Yeah, he was a smash hit across the board.
Yeah. Was it 7 innings? Only gave up the 2 hits, walk, 6 strikeouts.
Mm-hmm.
Fastball.
14 whiffs.
11 whiffs on the his whiff rate was like a tad under 50% with the fastball. Nearly 40% of his pitches were either called strikes or whiffs, which is pretty good, really good. And he's just kicked it to another level right now. I mean, it's passing the eye test metric. Analytically, we're really excited about getting him in AAA to see some of the metrics on the fastball. We knew the metrics on the fastball was going to be good because people would drop hints all the time. We got a little glimpse of it during the spring breakout game, like the 1 inning that he pitched, and so it was no surprise to find out that the fastball graded out like elite. And I think you had like the numbers pulled up for some of the stuff plus stuff, right?
Yeah, I got them up. I got the numbers that Eno had as well as TJ stats. And
go through them real quick.
Yeah, which I'll say Eno had let's see, what is it? 8 curveballs, whereas TJ stats had none. But at least on TJ stats, he had a 4-seam 105 stuff plus, slider 100 stuff plus, changeup a 102 stuff plus, overall 103 stuff plus. Which in following a lot of TJ's player cards, that's really good because his stuff doesn't really have much variance, I guess you could say. And especially it likes velocity a lot more, I believe. I think even Eno made that comment before he put out his. But I mean, on Eno's, the changeup was a 103, curveball 122. The 4-seam was about 140, just tick under, and the slider was a 118.
That's insane. That's insane to have 4 pitches like that grade out that high. And the fastball 140. What was Jared Jones's at or is at right now? Do you know off the top of your head?
Off the top of my head, no. I mean, it was, I want to say like 132 maybe.
Yeah. So I think that'd be a fun conversation to have someday, and that'd be something I might get some video.
I was right on the head. 132.
Really? 132. So yeah, I think that'd be a fun conversation to have one day, kind of comparing Jared Jones and Bubba Chandler as prospects. Something we could do down the road or something like that. So I think that'd be pretty fun. Maybe something I put some video together on it. So one thing I did want to mention too, I think something that's forgotten with Bubba, maybe not forgotten to certain people and stuff like that, but like just how athletic he is on the mound. There's like I had a chance to go back and watch the start. I was at the Fred Nats game while he was pitching. It was either a bunt or like a swing and bunt or something like that went down like the third baseline. And as a righty, he kind of falls towards first base. He's able to stop, get to the ball, make a really strong throw, and get the out. Like overall, it's just like maybe not something that's going to show up on a highlight reel, but just like a reminder of like how athletic he is and why so many people thought that he had this kind of level to his game just because of the pure athleticism that he has. So something like little like that, I think kind of stood out to me watching the game overall. Obviously, like blowing fastballs by like AAA hitters is good, but it's like the little stuff that reminds you just like the upside that he has because of the athleticism.
Was even just making me think. Wasn't it one of his first couple starts in Bradenton? His first time playing professionally, where he like laid out for some like ground ball to second base.
That was one of his last starts of the year with Bradenton because he threw like 4 or 5 no-hit innings or something like that. And like it was a game that got like delayed by like rain and they had to restart it, so I couldn't go back and get the video of it. But I was able to get the video of him making that like dive and stop too, which was just absolutely insane. Probably a little unnecessary for him to do, but like he really wanted those no-hit innings. So he laid it all out.
Really, really went for it.
Oh yeah, he went all in on that one. But yeah, just an incredible athlete, and like we talked about it a little bit like last week or the week before. It's like, man, I don't know where the Pirates are heading this year as far as like record wise. It doesn't seem like it's heading in a good direction. But man, he might be breaking down that door. Like the Pirates probably want to hold off on adding him to the 40-man roster just to give him a little flexibility in the offseason. But man, he might make it hard not to just throw him out there and see what he has, even if it's in shorter stints. Maybe it's like September, like as a call-up when the rosters are more expanded and you can use them 2 or 3 innings in the bullpen, even if the games don't mean anything. Like, he's kind of pushing that right now, I feel like.
Yeah, it'll be interesting, I guess, to see what happens now that, they kind of have gone into a tailspin. And, I mean, Ben said on the radio show that they still have aspirations for playoffs, but, I mean, got more teams to jump right now, and plus you just lost Marco. So, not that he was, a front-end starter or anything, but now you're digging even deeper into the depth of your upper level veterans. We got Jake Woodford starting Monday night, so we'll see how
Put
that
some respect
goes.
on that name.
Yeah,
Jake Woodford's the man.
Yeah, I mean, to his credit, I mean, I feel like a lot of the runs he's given up have been largely due to some of the very, very, very poor defense behind him.
Yeah, that Houston game where there was that blowout. Like I feel like I don't know if like I don't know how many of them were unearned compared to earned or whatever like that. I don't know how that broke down and all that, but I do know like that was all the defense hung him out to dry. Like if the defense plays better and all that stuff, he gets out of that inning clean. So
which is one of the things too when you look when when we talk about like the ERAs of like the bullpen, the starters, and all that kind of stuff. Because I think even Dennis Santana, like his first, I think it was his second appearance for the Pirates, where he gave 6 earned runs. And it was like, if Edward Olivares would have made, and technically Olivares had 2 chances. Like he poorly misplayed a ball in the outfield. And then the next batter hit a ball. I think it ended up turning into a double. Then the next batter hit a grounder to him, and he could have gunned the runner out at home, but threw it wide, and then it just snowballed from there.
Yeah. They don't give errors to outfielders who just can't take horrible routes to balls. Someone like Ji-Hwan Bae, who very athletic, very quick, very fast, just has zero instinct in the outfield. It feels like, and I feel like that's been the case since Altoona, the first time we saw him in the outfield. Like that hasn't changed at all. But yeah, I'm sure we can get into bitching more about that here in a second. I guess we'll transition to the next part on there. Did you have anything else you wanted to say about Bubba real quick?
Let it rip. Next year's Bubba. Next year's Jared Jones. Let it rip.
Yeah, I mean, like Jared Jones was good last year. I don't know if he was ever this good that we're seeing from Bubba last year. So it'll be definitely interesting to watch, because I do feel like the Pirates are a little more potentially set up going into next year. I guess depending on how Oviedo is coming back, if he's like ready to go from the beginning of the year, I doubt it.
Yeah,
but it'll be interesting. Like I said, he kind of feel like he's going to try to kick in some of the doors this year to maybe get to the majors.
It's possible, and that's why I keep talking that I think it would be a good time to maybe try and showcase an arm or two to flip to a needy, desperate team in the offseason that will give you like similar upside hitter that could step right into the majors for the Pirates, which is a huge need.
I would love to see someone like Ashcraft get back soon and be healthy, because he's already on the 40-man. So it'd be easier to showcase him, because like you're not also tying up like another 40-man spot. And like, to be honest, you're probably not too worried about that, especially if you're trying to flip someone. But also to like, it just makes things easier when you're trying to build depth going into next year. So I would love to see Ashcraft come back and maybe get back up to the majors, just to show him up a little bit. Like I mentioned before, I feel like he gives like a nice little blend of now and future potential. Like he could probably help a team to an extent right now, to where maybe you can make a case that Bubba and like someone like Thomas Harrington still maybe could be working on a thing or two. So I feel like he's like the ideal trade chip. It's just he has to get back on the field and show something at this point. Like what is it? It was only like 2 or 3 starts he's gotten in AAA before he's been out for this.
Yeah, I think he made 2, went on the IL, came back, made a bullpen appearance, and then went back on.
Yeah,
something like that.
I know when he came back, he only made 1, and then has been out since then.
So he made like a 3-inning appearance out of the pen, and then went back on.
Yeah. So yeah, we'll see how all that plays out. So next thing we wanted to get into is a little topic there, because we're doing the updated prospect list on this site, and one thing that came up was one interesting thing that I was in the back of my head with it is how we all were gonna place like Konnor Griffin in comparison to Termarr Johnson. And they obviously are probably the Pirates' 2 best hitting prospects. And it was going to be kind of interesting to see where everyone had them, where one would end up. Wilbur was the first one to send his list in. And I think by time calculating and everything like the full list will be out Wednesday. But by time everything I calculated everything, Konnor Griffin ended up higher than Termarr Johnson. So I wanted to go through like your thought process into like looking at those two, if they were kind of like your top 2 hitting prospects, if there's anyone else maybe in the mix, and like what your thought process was of kind of making the decision on who to place higher.
I mean, I think a lot of it truly comes down to at this point that Konnor Griffin, as a base, just has all that skill with regards to speed, defense, arm, to where it's I don't want to say given, but he's likely going to end up in one of the premier defensive positions, shortstop or center field. And it isn't a matter of, well, he's a second baseman that maybe will dabble at shortstop. It's like, no, he could stick at shortstop, but if he isn't great there, he's going to play center field. So those assets in themselves with, defense, arm, and speed is already far ahead of Termarr, to where Termarr is a second baseman. There's maybe he finds his way into a corner outfield spot. He's not going to play shortstop. He's not going to play first base. It's like second base. And I mean, he went on that tear recently, but he's actually kind of been slumping a little bit lately. I think he's down to like a 750, 760 OPS, which is still, pretty well above average. It just he had a really bad start, went on that huge tear, and then now kind of slowing down again. And it's just, there's still just a lot of questions that won't really be answered until he gets to Double-A of where is the bat truly at? Like how his contact is still a little problematic.
Yeah.
And all things considered, there's already questions on Konnor Griffin with that too. So
yeah.
Could it be worse, or is his lower level of contact already kind of graded into his rating to where like his contact is the same as Termarr's already, with power, with speed and defense? So
yeah. I think I'm trying to look at them each as and obviously Termarr, like his hit tool, I have a hard time like deciding probably where I would have it. Like it's probably grades out around like average right now, if probably like fringe average-ish. And like all the reports coming out with like Konnor Griffin, it does seem like there's like a hit tool concern. I kind of, I don't know. The way that I originally viewed it was kind of more that maybe Termarr was like the safer option, just because of like the hitting tool. He's a little more established at the major league level, or not major, obviously not major league, like in pro ball. He's playing pro ball right now, so and there's like the unknown quantity with Konnor Griffin right now, and Connor's like all upside. Even if that's the way that like you kind of feel, I feel like the overall upside and ceiling from Konnor Griffin surpasses the safe floor maybe that someone like Termarr Johnson gives, and that's why I end up having Konnor Griffin higher. I think I had him at as the number 2 prospect overall in the system. But then when I thought about it some more, so like originally, like I was trying to decide, do I go the safe route with Termarr or the upside route with Konnor Griffin? You mentioned the defense. Like I started thinking more. It's like, well, even Konnor Griffin has a certain amount of safe or floor that comes with them, just because of that defense, because he's going to be capable of playing above average to plus defense at a premium position. If it's not shortstop, he's going to be a plus center fielder. And I still like, as a safety thing, I'm going to value the shortstop / center fielder over the second baseman. So even the safe high floor part kind of thing, and like Konnor Griffin just kind of end up winning out in the end for me. So
makes sense.
Yeah.
And that's I mean, again, it wasn't as overall quality of a draft this past year as a lot of analysts said, but it still feels as though Konnor Griffin is, I mean, kind of similar to Termarr, where he should probably should likely breeze through Bradenton.
Yeah.
And then Greensboro.
I kind of feel like he's going to be like it could. I can foresee, especially if he doesn't get like actual Bradenton at bats. I could kind of see like a Max Clark thing. Like Max Clark struggled a little bit to start, but once he found his groove, like he just took off and was at like a completely different level. And like I kind of see like Max Clark's hit tool is probably better than Konnor Griffin's, at least like after they got drafted. But outside of that, I see a lot of similarities in their game and stuff like that. So I can see that kind of route too with him. Maybe he'll struggle, and Termarr struggled too initially. He'll kind of struggle at first, but once he finds his groove, he's just gonna like take off and just go.
Yeah, and I don't remember where I saw somebody talking about it, whether it was the Bucks on Deck comments or someone on Twitter. But the other thing they were kind of bringing up is, I mean, yeah, Termarr has a great eye at the plate, great discipline, but as he climbs the ladder, I mean, he's not going to carry a 20% walk rate as he goes up. Like that contact is going to have to get better because he's going to start seeing better pitches and pitchers that, have a general idea where the ball's going.
Yeah. If he has a 70 to 75% in zone contact rate in high A, when pitchers are able to put those curveballs that he's struggling with, those breaking pitches that he's struggling with in the zone, when they're able to put those pitches that are going to be better than the ones he's seeing in high A. Two, they'll be able to more consistently put them in the strike zone than previous than at the lower levels. Like that's just going to cause, I feel like, Termarr to that walk rate to come down, obviously, because the pitchers are throwing more strikes and could lead to more trouble because now he's seeing those pitches inside the zone a little bit more often. I mean, Termarr has shown flashes, and I don't want to make it seem like we're packing in on him. We all still had Termarr ranked fairly high on our list. I don't think anyone like cratered him down towards the bottom or anything like that. It's just like at this point, like even the contact that he's making hasn't been with like his authority because like I think his slugging percentage is like 370, 380 or something like that. So like he's not hitting that much power and stuff like that. And then with the contact, struggling. I pulled up TJ stats, like his player card, and he had like a in zone contact rate of 75%. And I mean, it's not horrible, but it's not good. It's not what you want. Yeah. It's not what you want out of a first round pick that's playing in high A. I mean, he's still 20, so like there's still time to kind of improve on it, but it's becoming more of a common theme, I think, than you want to see.
On top of, something else that I guess we'll get into a little later.
So, I guess this is a good thing that we can a good way to segue into the bitching part of the show. Put like just briefly, you don't have to spend too much time on it. Overall thoughts about putting because this is like the third list that we've technically put together this year, like the third updated version. Any like overall takeaways from you putting it together? Any trend that you noticed about doing the list for the third time on there? Anything that you?
The system as a whole is getting light, and it just makes it complicated because you're kind of. We obviously aren't seeing a lot of these guys in person. We don't have the kind of contacts that like a Fangraphs or Baseball America has, so. We're kind of, in a lot of cases, getting secondhand knowledge and information aside from, some of the like roast streams or whatever. But
yeah,
I just prefer guys I can see in full season ball. I prefer guys. I do lean more towards guys in the upper minors, proving themselves. And this list is just, it's like, well, Jordani gets a lot of hype and was raking, so I got to put him in. But also Severino was raking, which, I mean, he's still raking in Bradenton, so that looks like it's a good pick. And you just kind of have to put complex guy after complex guy, and it's just a lot of uncertainty.
Yeah, that's what it feels like. And like that, I noticed that's like a trend that I've started heading towards too. Like it's gotten to the point to basically where like I've been burned so much by putting someone maybe higher than I've wanted. And so like now I kind of want to see more of an established floor now before I really buy into him. That's why I was like so hesitant and I'm buying in on someone like Charles McAdoo. And like now we see him in Toronto's system and he's struggling a bit. But it comes a point now to where the system is like, okay, well, I'm going to hunt for the guys in the upper levels because they're a little more of a sure thing. But like we kind of run out of those like really quickly. We get to a point to where there's not that many of them left. So now all of a sudden it's just there's a lot of like high upside guys in the lower minors, but like there's so much variance. There's and like we already know that there's high variance on the lower level guys, but a lot of these guys, like it feels like they have an even added sense of like variance to them. Like they're striking out too much, or their control's not great, or maybe they don't have great secondary pitches, or what position are they going to play? Like there's like 5 guys in Bradenton that probably are first basemen down the road.
Well, and that's why I think I was even saying to y'all after that is it kind of gets to a point where it's like, well, if I'm going to rank Chang, I feel like, I mean, I did it, but it's like, should I rank Ciani? I'm a huge fan of.
Yeah.
He's gone on hot streaks where he's above league average, and then he goes on a slump where he's below league average. And then it's like he's played strong defense. He's fast. He's got a pretty good eye. He's striking out less. Like the things you want to see, but still, like what's more to come from there? And do I take Samilo's short sample of hitting the ball well in AA?
Yeah. I had Ciani at 30 for me. I put Ciani at 30. We do 25 on the site, but we each send in our top 30 just so then we have extras and stuff like that. So I had Ciani at 30 just because like we were talking about, like we want to see more of an established floor. Like at this point, I'd be willing to take a flyer as my 30th ranked prospect in the system on someone who is even someone who's more likely like a 4th or 5th outfielder kind of thing, a platoon outfielder, someone like Ciani who the upside isn't great, but like I see more of a shot of him making somewhat of an impact over someone like Esmeralyn Valdez, who I didn't rank in my top 30, just because one, I think he's a first baseman, and that already kind of limits your prospect value. And then 2, like he's struck out a lot, like he's hit a lot of home runs, and those are nice. But he's also like struck out a ton too. I think he leads like the Florida State League in strikeouts. If he doesn't lead it, he's like really close to the top.
Well, I know, and yeah, it really stuck out to me with tracking our minor league fantasy stats. That's kind of gone by the wayside. There are times I think at one point he hit triple digits. So I was like, whoa! I was like, I didn't realize it was that many. I was kind of just paying attention to the home runs.
Yeah. He strikes out a ton. So like if he's striking out a ton in like high, there's that high variance again. Like, well, he has a lot of power. He may be has like the highest raw power tool in the system outside of someone like Tony Blanco. But like, how far past A ball can he make it if he's striking out 35% of the time already? And he's probably only a first baseman.
Yeah, so, I mean, he to his credit, I mean, he is only 20 and won't be 21 until January. Yeah. But even still, it just I don't know. It's just this is probably the first list in a couple of years that was pretty much just primarily upside.
Yeah, there's a lot of upside. I will say this, and I'll make it quick with that. I bring him up a lot. With Mitch Jebb going to center field and then seeing some of his stuff, like I've kind of like I'm not in on him, but I'm ready to have that conversation again and on him as being like a prospect or something like that. Just because, like we said, it played like his profile plays so much better in center field. Like it adds some value there.
Yeah.
Like, he actually has some value now.
I would have to see some of the additional stats that have yet to show up with lack of StatCast.
Yeah. All right. I just like going back to I know he doesn't hit the ball hard. Like I think he averaged his average exit velo was like 78, 79, 80 or something like that. I don't think he had any batted balls over 100. This is going back from like Bradenton and stuff like that. But like the contact rates has been really good. He doesn't chase. I think his in zone contact rate was like 80, 85%. The out of zone swing rate was like right at 20. The whiff rate was low. He puts the ball in play. He's been hitting well. He has the speed, and he's playing center field now, which I like a center fielder with that kind of profile sounds so much better than a second baseman with that kind of hitting profile. So
yeah, I guess I'm just kind of
that's like
I'm just kind of done until I see it with these puts the ball in play with no power guys. Then it gets double A.
Yeah, well, I mean, like we talked about getting burned before. We were burned by Tris Gonzalez, so like we kind of like, well, this guy might be a guy. He doesn't need power if he just hits all the time and puts it in play, and then like he doesn't hit.
Trace was a guy that actually hit the ball rather, hard. It just was always into the ground, and now he's not hitting. Hell, I think he's 7 of 15 in stolen bases. It's like he's just a pure defensive outfielder now.
Yeah, it's like the next Connor Scott.
I feel like we got a lot of those right now.
Yeah. Well, I guess we technically started the bitching part of this episode without officially starting.
I feel like we technically started in the beginning almost.
Yeah, a little bit.
It just sprinkled in until the full onslaught.
Yeah. So here the Pirates are. 7-game losing streak. They go from being thoroughly in the race to, despite what the GM says, not a very good chance. I think what is it? Their playoff odds on my Fangraphs is like 1% or something like that right now. Or I don't know if it's 1%, but it's pretty.
It might be like 3% maybe if they're lucky. I don't know.
Yeah, it's not good. You weren't a fan of the trade deadline acquisitions in the first place.
I was not.
Now that we've had about 2 weeks now of them in the system, has there been anything at all that has changed at all with you, or is it still
that my soft C is now probably like a hard D?
Nice. I
wasn't a fan of it to begin with, and it's just, since we keep saying the word snowball, it's just snowballed since then, and it hasn't been pretty. And no matter how people try and wrap this turd sandwich up in a pretty bow, like it's not good.
Yeah. You telling me that a below average fielder with incredibly high strikeout, whiff, and chase rates who doesn't walk is struggling now all of a sudden?
Yeah, and then on top of it, I think I said during the post trade deadline, recording that like his RBI totals are mostly just a product of opportunity, because like if you looked at his running in like his OPS and runners in scoring position, it was under 700. So it's like it's not like he was a clutch hitter.
Yeah,
he just matter of opportunity. To where like a RBI ground out still counts as an RBI kind of deal,
Yeah. Yeah, I wasn't an overly big fan. Like the Billy Cook trade kind of like grew on me. I like the Nick York trade. We haven't seen those in the majors yet, they've done fairly well in Indianapolis. I wasn't really a fan of the Jalen Beeks trade, but like he hasn't been bad. I mean, they're beating him into the ground. Like you kind of get the feeling that he's not going to make it to the end of the season at his current usage.
I just didn't understand. I just don't understand it from a standpoint of buying a rental.
Yeah. They want it's just so clear that they just wanted to be able to say that they were buyers or that they tried at the deadlines. Like, look, we added 3 major league players. Like we
everybody was hyping it too. I mean, I think Fangraphs hyped it too. Like everybody was hyping it. It's just like,
was it Zips that gave like when Zips came out, their playoff odds got worse after the trade deadline on their projections because of those moves.
Well, probably because those like expected stats, which then we can talk about IKF.
So like, yes, I like he's hit and he's hit well. He's probably been one of the more consistent hitters on the team, but like still, like I can't get excited about it just knowing that like this guy is so far above his career averages on everything offensively
with
like,
nothing to back it up.
Yeah, like if he comes crashing down, like just how hard is he going to come crashing down, and how much different is that going to be than like Jared Triolo? Like, yeah, he's still even at like his career averages, he's still hitting better than what Jared Triolo did. But then also too, you have to factor in what they're going to be paying him, like $7.5-8 million next year, compared to
he's another Brian Hayes.
Yeah, that's if he regresses back to his career norms, the Pirates just have 2 Brian Hayeses in their infield at that point. Yeah, that make pretty much identically the same money.
Yeah, and I mean, I showed y'all those batter cards from TJ Stats this morning. Mm-hmm. IKF is Adam Frazier. He is literally Adam Frazier.
Yeah, it was hilarious.
Like
hilarious
across the
how
board.
Similar their numbers were. Hilarious how similar. Like you could have done like a blind test with it, and like you would have blown people's minds.
Yeah, I mean, well, after my little argument with someone with regards to WRC plus versus OPS plus, but I was gonna post it, but I'm like I'm not doing that right now. But because that's what kept coming in the back of my mind was just when the year the Pirates traded Adam Frazier, he had a year and a half left. He was having a huge year, and I remember even me personally, I was like, oh man, second basemen's or there's not a lot out there. He's going to be a great trade asset, and the trade return was kind of I mean, Jack Swinski gave us a great year, but overall, it was at the time the trade return was kind of less than ideal. But and then what happened? He fell back to his expected stats. Like IKF's ex-WOBA is like, what was it, 288? Mm-hmm. So he's batting like 50, 40 points higher. His WOBA is 50, 40 points higher than his expected WOBA. It's not pretty.
No, there's a lot of stuff that scream regression. And I know a lot of people roll their eyes at the analytics stuff. But like the example, and like you mentioned them already, the example that I always go back to is Jack Sawinski. Like his whiff rate and his, like strikeout rate and stuff like that were always so bad that it's like, yeah, like he'll walk into a couple and stuff like that. And he walks a lot, but like how often does someone with that bad of a whiff rate and that bad of like a strikeout rate, how often do they have like continued success and stuff like that? And it's like IKF doesn't hit for power, but like there's only so long you can hold off that kind of stuff and everything like that when he's hitting the ball the way that he is. And it, yeah. So.
Well, and that's in part what kind of led me into looking into Victor Robles this morning. Obviously making those comments before, of course, he had to sign a couple hours later.
Nola was calling for the Pirates to sign him in the offseason. And literally, I think 20 minutes later, Corey comes into the chat and and drops the thing about Robles getting signed.
Yeah.
Which is hilarious.
And that's what, because I started looking at his numbers, and you can see, like, if you look at his numbers with the Nationals versus his numbers with the Mariners, there is a stark difference. Like, it is a huge difference, and it's like, oh, he's actually hitting the ball better, making better contact, and versus it was just terrible before. Whereas with like IKF, I think like he's hitting the ball a little harder than he used to, but at the same time, like even with that, his expected stats are still, typical IKF. And he's another best case scenario would be him being Hayes, that maybe hits a little better.
Yeah. How are you approaching the rest of this season? Are you ready to, like, 7-game losing streak? There however many games under 500. Are you ready to just pack it in and try stuff out for next year? Are you trying to shake things up, maybe try to salvage anything? Do you think there's anything that can be salvaged at this point?
I don't know how much can be salvaged unless someone goes on a Jack Sawinski 2-week heater, Yeah. Unless De La Cruz goes on a Jack Sawinski, a 2023 Jack Sawinski heater. I mean, your 1 through 4 is fine. Kutch, Reynolds, Cruz, and Bart. But then it just falls off after that. Like, Tellez obviously was atrocious to start the year, went on his bender, and then now he's just kind of settled into a 700 OPS.
He hit a double tonight, or as we're recording on it, but I think it's kind of, it feels like a fine line, because like I wrote what was it, like last week, that the Pirates need to do something to shake stuff up, and if that means calling up someone like Nick York or Billy Cook or something like that, they need to look into that, because there's some guys here that have had multiple chances in the majors and they're still not doing anything. It's time to cut bait with that. It's time to try something different. I don't think you call up like all the reinforcements and like all the young guys and be like, okay, well, we're gonna try some stuff and see where we're at going into next year. But they're treading that line, and like if they get swept here again in San Diego, I think you just kind of pack it in at this point. Or if they show like zero fight, like if they put up a fight all 3 games and are competitive and maybe drop like 2 of them or something like that, maybe with like a move you can do something. I don't know. You're gonna have to find a spot with Marco Gonzalez out, and I imagine just Jared Jones gets that spot.
Yeah. Well, and that's the other thing too is
right now your strengths right now are kind of struggling too. Your bullpen was supposed to be a strength; it's struggling. Even the rotation hasn't been great lately, so they got a lot of work to do with not much time to kind of write everything.
Yeah, I mean, they would. The bullpen kind of collapsed at the worst point that it could. Although, I mean, Holderman and Bednar were both kind of trending in the wrong direction as it was.
Yeah.
And it just finally hit that point where it just basically completely imploded, and it seems that Shelton is that type of manager where it's like, no, Bednar's my 9th inning guy, and he's going to stay my 9th inning guy. I gotta show confidence in my guy.
Yeah. Even that like they came out and said like Holderman would keep pitching in high leverage situations, and then I don't think he had
high leverage, because someone made that comment. He said he would be pitching in leverage situations,
which I think that alludes to that it's going to be high, because like the next game that he came in and pitched was like they were leading, and it was like the 7th, 8th inning too. So
yeah,
and then he got blown up there again, and then he's on the injured list the next day, which I feel like that's probably one of those. Hey, we're going to take you out here, but we're not going to make it seem like we're benching you. So
yeah.
You felt something weird the next morning, and we had to put you on the injured list, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then there's also the fact that, I mean, the defense, I mean, it also went down a complete shitter overnight almost. Because, Cruz was beginning to build some confidence with people, and then
that Houston series.
Yeah, and then the Houston series happened, and then Bay in the outfield happened, Cruz in the outfield happened, De La Cruz in the outfield. And I mean, IKF obviously has the glove, but not enough to overcome those gaffes. And
yeah, especially when he's just playing like second base. Like there's only so much impact you can have defensively at second base.
It's just a team that has very, very, very slim margin to being competitive. And when one of those wheels fall off, it just it doesn't work well.
Yeah. Is there any move that comes to mind immediately that you would like to do? Like if you could make a move right now.
Right now?
Yeah.
Not really. They need so much. I mean, I guess if you wanted to at least call up Cook or York to where you're like, all right, at least you know how to play outfield. And we don't have to have, a chicken with its head cut off running around out there. That could help.
Who would you prefer to bring up between, if you could only pick one, Cook or York?
Probably I should bring up Cook.
That's what I was thinking. Just because he's more of a natural outfielder, and I think that's your more pressing need. Unless you're talking about putting like IKF in the outfield too for a little bit, because York's played center, but it's one of those things like Termarr and Mitch Deb were playing shortstop. Doesn't mean they're actually shortstops.
I thought it was funny that I think just as I finished that observation about him playing in the outfield, I made sure to not be too optimistic about it. Yeah. It was like right after I finished writing it, he dove for a ball that he completely missed, and it bounced to the wall for, I think, a triple. I was like, okay, good. Good thing I didn't get too optimistic about it. Like, he should be center field.
I'd probably feel like I'd bring up Cook too. Finding any kind of pitching help seems like oddly difficult right now. Like who else down there? Who else down there really can help the bullpen right now? I mean, you're kind of relying on Majinski to get back and be healthy. I think maybe
that was awful timing.
Yeah, that was horrible timing. You need someone like maybe Jared Jones to come back, and maybe you can slip Ortiz back in the bullpen. I can tell you, won't be kind of been exposed a little bit.
Yeah, I can tell you, it won't be Josh Walker.
No, that was a story. He pitched once. IL, DFA, released.
Yeah, okay. Sure. But I mean, and that's the thing too, is that you bring up say you bring up Bubba to start and you push Woodford back to the bullpen. I mean, you're still going to have to use everybody at some point. Like you're not going to shield yourself from. Heller did okay. He loaded the bases and got out of it, but Herman, he's a whole nother story in and of himself with his, but just just throwing 90-mile-an-hour heaters and
that can't be a recipe for continued success. Like he got away with it, and it happened to get away with it with the Dodgers. So maybe that's going to make some people think, oh, maybe he's cooking with something. But like just looking at those pitches, like that's not gonna last. Like it won't be another game or two before he's getting beat up too, and then you're looking for another option there. I don't know if Mike Burrows is still an option at this point. Like you can see him getting better. He looks better. But I'm still not sure if I'm ready to push him up to the majors yet. I don't know how you feel about that watching him. I know we've been talking about him. The fastball looks like it's a little bit better, but it's still not quite what we're used to from him.
I'm also convinced. I'm telling you, I'm convinced they're using different baseballs in AAA.
It wouldn't surprise me.
I'm convinced they're using different
weren't
baseballs.
They using different baseballs in one of the double, like I think it was like the Southern League. They were using like different baseballs there.
It's possible because even the Sally, like offense is very suppressed this year compared to past years.
Yeah,
like it was normally like mid high 700 OPS is average OPS, but this year I think I just looked at it was like 696, which is very well below average for that league.
I mean, the only pushback that I'd have to that is like the fastballs obviously weren't looking good for Burrows, and even like Harrington's fastball wasn't as sharp as what we're used to seeing, but like Bubba's was. And then unless it's something that they did this year, like Burrows.
One of the other guys I'd point to are I remember seeing was it Christian Scott and even Zebby Matthews, like when their TJ stat cards would be posted, I'm like, oh, that stuff is okay. And then they come up and they're like lighting it up. And it's like, well, wait, how is this dude with all these 98, 97s? And that's when I think we kind of were discussing that it's a little less variance, and his Stuff Plus model seems to prefer other things over others, I guess. Yeah.
It's a lot harsher on there. Like you don't see many, like you said, like Eno's had like 140 for like, I don't think I've ever seen like anything on TJ's get up to like the 140s or anything like that. Like I think like Carlson Reed's like sweeper got like a 118, and that was like the highest pitch that I saw in single A at any point.
And I want to say Jared Jones' fastball was, I don't know, 106, 107 in spring training or something.
Mm-hmm. And it was really hot then.
And now it's like 130 with Fangraph Stuff Plus. So
so I don't know. It'll be interesting. Did you have any other anything else we wanted to bitch about real quick when it comes to the organization?
I mean, I could probably go on for a while. Just the organization as a whole, top to bottom, it's next year's going to be problematic because they're a whole timeline window, whatever. Their whole plan is the same issue I always had with Huntington during the years when they started faltering, where it's like they had zero contingency plan. And this team going into next year is going to have no contingency plan if everything doesn't work out. If you lose a Reynolds or a Cruz, you're screwed. You're screwed.
That's how it's been. I mean, that's even how it was this year. Like they went into this year with banking on so many unknowns. They were banking on Henry Davis grabbing a spot and becoming an everyday major league player. They banked on like Jack Sawinski. Like no one, like even like you and I were like, have always been fairly harsh, I guess maybe the word is, or maybe not as high on Sawinski as like others were. Mm-hmm. but like I don't think either of us kind of saw him tanking this bad.
Not that bad.
To the point to where like he's almost unplayable in AAA right now. Like it's hard to put him in the lineup right now at AAA. Like he's just that bad right now.
And really, and even this year, it took Jones and Skeens, pretty much, doing what they're doing to put them on another level.
Yeah,
but
imagine if Jared Jones doesn't just come out and like grab a rotation spot and then just like rolls with it for the first couple of months like he did. Like
then Quinn Priester was probably
the other guy. Who's the guy that's starting? Like Ortiz, like early is it? They don't go to Ortiz probably. Quinn Priester.
It would have been. It would have depended if they would have pushed Ortiz to the rotation.
Yeah,
but Priester. You probably would have had they probably wouldn't have got rid of who's the lefty? Well, Chase Anderson, they let him go and he got signed by Boston. Eric Lauer, he probably doesn't get released. He might have been pitching.
And all of those sound a whole lot worse. Like we're probably having this like the season is over conversation like a month ago without that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
I mean all our answers are solved though because Jake Woodford has just thrown 6 shutout innings right now against the
right. There you go. But yeah, and then I mean if Brian De Cruz is probably starting right fielder next year. Because who else? And if he continues this, who's taking that spot? They're not going to call it Matt Gorski. I think they're kind of passed on him.
Everyone but Baseball America has passed on him.
Yeah. So you're putting all your eggs in the basket of York and Cook.
I think because like speaking of like with like De La Cruz, like I remember when Mackey was on that NS9 show and they were talking about trade stuff and everything like that. He said like he made good points like knowing how the Pirates are, they're not going to address the position during this season only to like again address it in the off season. Like they got De La Cruz and he has control. He's going to factor into that right field position for the foreseeable future. Because of the control.
They gave up at least 3 months into next year.
Yeah. So.
And then that's when I've even seen people start talking about that lately. It's you guys start having a conversation of, I mean, if McCutchen wants to come back, do you bring him back? Because it really limits the roster.
Limiting
because Joe has another year unless he's going to get sent to the minors or traded. You need to sign a first baseman.
Yeah, it's a mess, and it's the kind of messes that I feel like we shouldn't be talking about this deep into a new GM's tenure. Like we shouldn't. There are almost half of your opening day lineup that's probably up in the air right now. Going into next year. Like you got Reynolds, you got Cruz, you got Bart, and by virtue of signing the extension, you have Brian Hayes. You probably have IKF, but like in an ideal scenario, don't you want him like coming off the bench playing everywhere kind of thing? So you probably don't want to commit him to a singular position because you're probably going to want him to be the backup at multiple places.
Yeah, and then also, I mean, Endy will be back, but what Endy are you going to get?
Yeah. Who knows? I think that's the thing that people still haven't taken into account. Like he's going to be coming back from Tommy John. Don't know how that arm's going to play. Some catchers have made it back. Some catchers have come back. And then you're talking about throwing in the first. I know you'll probably want to talk about that. People want to throw in the first. He hasn't shown that he can hit at the major league level to be a first baseman.
And then we're still talking Henry Davis too. What is he gonna finally click in the majors?
I think he's he's like the biggest thing that you want to. How do you want to approach the rest of the season? Because you could call him up. You can like DFA Grandal, which it doesn't seem like that's going to happen. But you could, and give Henry Davis the rest of the season to try to work towards to see if he can be your backup catcher, or maybe try him at first base, maybe throw him in right field.
Yeah, and to me, like, it's, I guess at this juncture, this far into the, quote unquote rebuild, I mean, it feels nuclear, but like, you got to do something about the hitting development. You got to do. There's no way they can look at what has transpired over the 3 years that Haynes has been here at the major league level, at the minor league level. Because again, like that, Lance Brzezowski was like, it was one of those things that we had always questioned, but he finally got data to put behind it that like they're awful at making contact. Like, they're not developing the ability to make contact in the minors, and that's finding its way to the majors.
Yeah.
Like, whatever. And then these players come to the Pirates, like, and they don't get better. I mean, at least with Joey Bart, I was saying that was one of the ones, and I can get you, Cody, and Corey to confirm that in the spring training, I was like, we should look at Joey Bart. Like, why not? And then, like, some of his StatCast data in the spring looked promising. And then I think even when they traded for him, I posted his numbers while in AAA with, what is it, Sacramento? And it was like, no, this is looking promising. So I wouldn't even say that Haynes fixed Bart. Like, I think Bart came fixed, and they just got him at the perfect time. Yeah.
I think that's what they're kind of banking on with like someone like Billy Cook and Nick York. They had York make that change in his swing, and he's kind of taken off since then. Cook, and there's 10,000 hitting prospects in the Orioles system right now. He just got blocked behind, a bunch of them. So maybe like he's always been good. There's just guys that happen to be a lot better in the system. So,
which is why we love the Priester for York trade so much, and that's why we sit there and it's like, why don't they do more of that?
I think finding the right fit for it too, because like, to be honest, like overall, like the Orioles are probably like the best team to do it, and they end up doing one with a trade like that. It's just a lot of the teams that have like the backlog kind of prospects, the block prospect, like, like the Dodgers and stuff like that. I always feel like they're more inclined to take like win now players. So it'd be someone that would be help. They wouldn't be looking as much for like the Pirates prospects in the system as much as like someone on the major league roster and stuff like that. And maybe the Pirates aren't as willing to move those. And clearly they're not willing to move some of those things because they had an opportunity at the deadline and didn't move them.
Yeah, I was like, because Cubs traded 2 low-level guys for Michael Busch, and he's having a great year as their first baseman.
Yeah. And Zaire Hope is the top 100 prospect with the Dodgers now.
Yeah, and that's partially why I'm like, I'd like to see them leverage some of these upper-level AAA starters to someone that's in need of a starter, controllable starter, and be like, all right, well, here's an upper echelon starting pitcher. Give some good hitters, upper level hitters.
That's why I kind of circle to Ashcraft. I'd like to see him get healthy because I'd like Harrington's probably the guy that you'd probably try to look to move now with Ashcraft and Burrows kind of hurt. But I think Ashcraft is the kind of ideal candidate and stuff like that for it.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, did you have you had anything else you wanted to pile on while we're getting all the feelings out tonight?
I mean, who knows?
It's frustrating. They need to do something. They can't just sit here the rest of the year and think when there's tons of data that says that stuff isn't working. when they're supposed to be like a data-driven organization, there's so much of it piling against them for them to continually not do anything.
Oh man, maybe they don't have the same data-driven people in the hitting department as they do the pitching. I don't know.
And it's crazy. It's crazy because like I don't pretend, or I don't want to give off making it seem like I'm some sort of big baseball expert and like I know what I'm doing, and Murph knows ball. Listen to what Murph says. But like I can't
No,
imagine
I'll say,
that,
listen to me. I know what I'm talking about.
yeah, Nola knows ball, not Murph. Murphy doesn't know ball. But if I can sit here from my office and watch these games and see that there's something fundamentally wrong with what's going on hitting wise in the system, how is it that they cannot pick up on it? And how is it that like after 5 years, like nothing has been done about it? It's crazy.
Pretty much, yeah. And then that's the thing is, once data starts trickling out, it's like, well, okay. So even when that new bat speed for Savant came out, it says the exact same thing. Like, yeah, they swing hard, and when they make contact, they hit the ball pretty hard, but they don't make contact often.
Yeah. It's nice when someone hits it 120 miles an hour off the bat. It's pretty, it's fun, it's cool, it's all that. But it doesn't mean anything if you're not making enough contact with it, if you're not putting the ball in play.
Yeah.
And it's an issue. It needs to be done.
Which then, ironically, IKF is the polar opposite, where he makes in zone contact and like 90%, but he doesn't hit it hard.
Just find it can't be that hard to find something in the middle that works, right?
Apparently it is. It is. It is very difficult.
Yeah, it's crazy. Okay, but we'll see how the rest of the season goes.
Trade for Trey Morgan.
If he doesn't get traded, or if he doesn't get promoted by the end of the year, I'll get to see him at the end of the year now. So
you can tell him Nola Jeffy said what's up. I don't know him, but
yeah, he'll be like, who?
Yeah. Tell him I know about Brother Martin.
I'll pass it along.
That's the high school he went to. It's right down the street from me.
Okay. Well, that's going to sound creepy. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah, I know.
That's why you have me saying it, right?
Exactly.
That's right. All right. Well, that is going to do it for our show tonight. I want to thank everyone for tuning in. Nola, how can everyone reach you or follow your content on social media? Jamming in the background.
That dryer song that goes on for like 30 seconds. You can follow me at Nola Jeffy, NOLAJEFFY. On the Bird app.
On the Bird app. It's about the only thing that we use. I use it way too much. You can follow me at _Murphy88. Subscribe to the site, Bucks on Deck Substack. Wednesday we'll have our updated top 25 list.
I'm not proud of it.
Some other stuff that I'm working on right now. So make sure you subscribe so you get access to that. Check out the site. Subscribe. Did you have any Nola knowledge to pass on real quick before we
double check everything? Triple check it for that matter.
Triple check everything. That sounds like it takes
a lot of stress lately from things I didn't double and triple check, but
fair enough. But thanks for tuning in, everyone, and we will see you guys next week. Peace.
Deuces.